Welcome back to Drive Your Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Master Coach Carrie Marshall, and it's time to go after those goals.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Okay, so today we are going to talk a little bit about my new and exciting book that's coming out. I have the book, How to Dream Wild, Crafting the Life of Your Dreams, coming out November 11th. So probably by the time you're listening to this, it's already out. So I want to talk to you about the last half of what happened when I was writing my book, because I know that some of you are probably maybe even reading it right now. That gives me chills. I'm so excited. But I'll tell you what happened with the book, and it is so crazy. So whenever I help people write books, one of the very first things that we do when they pick a title is I go to two different sources to look for like book titles. Number one is Goodreads. It is kind of like a treasure trove of all the books. People can rate your books. They can review them. It's one of my favorite apps, websites, whatever it is, because you can like be friends with people. It's a great, if you are a book nerd, it's a great app. You probably already know it. So I'll always go on Goodreads to see if somebody's book title has been taken. Now, little, I'm not going to tell you the author, but I was helping an author write a book once, a personal development book. And I'm not going to tell you the title because you'll die laughing, but he was like, I think I want to name my book this. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting title, very riveting. And I was like, let me put it in and see what happens. And so I put it in Goodreads. Turns out there was like an entire, like, they call it closed door romance book. You know what I mean? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Closed door romance series that was named the exact same thing. I was dying. So I went back and I told him, I said, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but there's already a book named this. Just FYI, that's totally fine. You can have books named the same thing. But I was like, I don't know if you want people to be like Googling this. So I digress because I still cannot stop laughing about when that happened. He did end up changing the name of his book, by the way. But so I always go on Goodreads and I always go to Amazon. Amazon is just like, because Amazon has not only physical books, but then they have Kindle, of course, readers. They have Audible that you can pick up from there. So really, I mean, Amazon really is the place to go to look at your the title of your book. So I had submitted my book. I'd submitted the e-reader, the paperback, all of the fonts, all of the colors, all of the like everything. Every single thing that I could do for my book had been submitted this past week. So I was so excited. For some odd reason today, I was like, you know what? I should check Amazon again. I'm like, I don't know why, but I just feel like maybe because, you know, I came up with this book name, maybe somebody else did it. Okay, I kid you not. My book name and the exact, almost not exact, like very similar book cover came up. Someone else had written a book and it was on Audible only back in 2018. And so she wrote this book and it had almost the exact same. And I was like kind of creeped out by it. I called my husband. I'm like, you are not going to believe this. And I sent it to him and he's like, what is happening? How could this be the exact same title? The subtitle's different, but exact same title with almost the identical book. And he goes, who made your book cover? Maybe they just like copied it. I'm like, I made my book cover. I'm like, I was like polling people on Instagram and I came up with it and I thought it was really cool. And it was just hilarious. So I tell you all of this because it's so fascinating when we go after our goal and then sometimes we reach obstacles like after the fact. Like sometimes obstacles are just going to follow us along, and that's totally fine. So I had to make a couple of different decisions. Number one is I needed to change my title a little bit, which I did. Number two is I definitely wanted to change my book cover because great minds think alike, and me and this author are very great minds. So I wanted to change that. But as I was doing it, I had to kind of like pause for a minute and ask myself, like, who do I want to be as I'm changing these things about my book? Because now I had to essentially, I don't know if anybody knows the book process, but once you get your book, you have to submit it and then you need to get it approved. And then you have to get it approved a second time. Then you have to get a book sent to you to see the physical copy to make sure that everything's lined up appropriately. It's like a whole process through this publishing part of it. And I had to start over again. I basically wasted, I shouldn't say I wasted, but several days had gone by, like a week, that I was like, So I kind of just asked myself, I'm like, I could be totally resentful. I could be annoyed. I could be embarrassed, all of these different things. And I'm like, you know what? I just choose to believe that this was like supposed to happen for whatever reason, whether I needed to change the title, change the thing, look at this other woman's stuff, which actually seems pretty awesome. Like, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. I'm like, the fact that I wrote the entire book with my own brain, came up with the cover, the name, I'm like, that's pretty cool that me and this other woman are so in line and so in sync. Her back in 2018 and then me right now. So all that said, the book is being recorded for Audible next week. By the time you guys get this, it might be out, the Audible version. But I wanted to make an exciting announcement here on the podcast. So I'll announce it afterwards on all the other places, but I really want to have a book club for my book because I do think that reading it is amazing and I give you so many actionable items that you can do in the book, but I really want to know you and I want to know what you're going after for your goals and what you want to dream wild about. And so I'm announcing today on the podcast that I am going to be doing a book club in January of 2024. This is going to be a really exciting opportunity for us to get together and talk to other people that have read the book. We're going to do it in 2 different parts. We're going to do one as like a kickoff call, kind of get into the book a little bit. And then I'm going to give you a couple of weeks and then we're going to do the last call together where we can really talk about questions that you have about the book, what you liked, what your next steps are, those types of things together. And so it's going to be really fun to be able to do this book club together. I realized as I wrote this book how amazing it is to be able to be with like-minded people. I had my book layout up on my wall at my house, and I had several people come over that didn't know I was writing a book. And so they'd see it and be like, oh, what's up on your wall? Why do you have all those flashcards up there? And so I'd tell them about the book. And I had so many great conversations with people about their dreams and where they get stuck and like what the next step is for like what their wild dream is. And so I just wanted to extend that to my audience because I really am so excited about this. And I want you to get excited about getting back into dreaming again and getting back into like, what is the next big thing for me? I think that so often as adults, we get stuck in the rut of like our life just kind of coming at us that we forget that we actually get to engineer not all of our life, right? Because life still does happen, but we do get to engineer so many parts of it that we just kind of don't do anything with. And that's honestly why I wrote this book. I wrote it because I was at an event, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I was at an event and I had a couple of people after I spoke that had come up to me and wanted to speak to me. And there were 2 sisters, and I might start crying about it, but there were 2 sisters that came up and they had been waiting to talk to me. And one of them kind of pushed the other one forward a little bit and said, and these were women in their 50s, maybe 60s. And the first sister shared with me, she said, I just got a divorce and I wasn't expecting it. She's like, we've been married for 30 years. And she said, he really came one day and said, I'm leaving you. I've got a girlfriend. I've moved everything out of the house that was mine, and I'm gone. And he left. And she just kind of said like that she went from being a homemaker to then having to go out and get a job, figure out a lot of different things that she didn't know. And she just said that life just felt like it was heavy and hard. And she said that listening to my talk, she just started crying because she said it was the first time that she felt hopeful about her life. And she said, I think that so often I've just been sitting in this rut of like what people think I am and playing that role that I haven't really asked myself what I want. And so I asked her, I said, what do you want? And she said, I'm not ready to share that yet. But she said, but I am willing to tell myself that my dreams are worth it. And that's when all three of us started crying because your dreams are worth it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have people come to me and tell me that they wish that they could do this, or they love seeing other people go after things, but then they never include themselves in it. And I'll ask them about it, and then they have these things that come up like, well, I'm only, or I could, but, and it just is heartbreaking. So the second sister, after we kind of like dried our tears and we all hugged and everything, she said, I have a goal and a dream that I want to own this amazing lake house. And she's like, but every time that I think about it, it just feels impossible. And so she said, and you just made me realize that maybe impossible is what I need in my life. And she's like, I've never thought that before. Anytime I think about the lake house dream, I like squash it down and like pull it. She's like, I ball it up really, really small. And she's like, until I can't see it anymore. And she's like, but when you said that impossible is what we need in our lives, like, she's like, I just realized I want a big poster of that lake house. Like, I want to believe in impossible. I want to believe that going after my goal is so worth it, and that a lake house, as impossible as it seems with my budget and what I do right now, is 100% what I want to do. And so that's really what I'm wanting. And that's one of the reasons that I decided now was the time to write this book, because I'd been speaking so much this past year, especially in the early summer. And I spoke to so many amazing people. Thank you for coming out to see me speak. Thank you for attending the seminars that I was speaking at. It was just so much fun to be able to see so many of you that have amazing, epic dreams that now you're going to go out and go and do. And I just wanted to share that with so many more people, because I really do believe that when we dream big for our lives, we show up differently for ourselves. We learn different skills that we would never learn, have different experiences that we never would have experienced, but we also become examples for other people. And I'm so, so pumped for you to read the chapter called Dreamers in the Wild. I think out of all of the chapters, I might continue to say this about every chapter, but honestly, like Dreamers in the Wild, it's one of the last chapters, is the epitome of what I want you to know. I share with you some examples of people that I personally know and how they're just like out there dreaming in the wild and making things happen, and how I've been able to have like front row seats to it. And it's been really, really cool. And that's what I want for you. I want you to come tell me those wild dreams that you have, and then hand me a ticket to it and be like, here's your ticket, Carrie. Put me in the nosebleeds even. I don't need front row, but I just want to be part of that experience for you, because I really do believe that when we can create connection and community around our wild dreams, some really awesome things are going to happen. So I'm so excited for Dream Wild to come out. This is going to be such an incredible thing for me to share with all of you. And I don't want you to miss out on book club, because honestly, book club, by the way, we do it in our pajamas. You don't have to be on video at all. I might bring a couple of you on if you want to, but really it is like be in your pajamas, put it up on the big screen, do whatever you want to. We're just going to have some fun on book club. So I'm going to give you more details about it over on Instagram. So make sure that today come over to Instagram and check out Dream Wild, and you can sign up for book club right over there. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to this podcast episode. If you're ready to get in the driver's seat of your own life, you can come and follow me at Drive Your Thoughts Coaching on Instagram, or come and see more ways to work with me at driveyourthoughts.com.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.